As the old saying goes, it's never too early for SuperCoach, and that rings true here on the Phantoms Lair podcast. This is the Phantom speaking, back ahead of trade period to look at SuperCoach for 2026. It may only be first couple of days of October, but it's never too early to get the jump on the competition. We do it here in the Lair every year. Say goodbye to 2025. We get to say goodbye to the Chief once and for all for 2025. Hayden Doss Kenny is back as well, but before we do that, with our friend across the border, our Paton, we have left him off the show all year.
Yep.
He's back for 2026, but we do go look. The grand final is here. AFL finals are wrapped up. I got a bit of ground up on you in the final week, and we've got a winner we've got to talk about as well, Chief, before we move on. And again, I'll be scrolling through. If you're listening to this later in the year and later in the SuperCoach pre-season, check down below and skip through.
Yep. Yeah, we'll chuck it in the timestamps if you're just here for 2026. We're just going to do a brief recap
I'm just
of
here for
SuperCoach finals. And yeah, Fan, you do want to skip over the fact that I was top of the pod, top of the Phantoms Lair pod, with a ranking of 5,670 to finish out SuperCoach finals. But I'm so keen to plan for 2026 as well. But we have to give a shout out to the winner, the overall winner of SuperCoach finals back for this year. And it was Tristan, coach of Tom Ruggles fan club. Tom Ruggles fan club, the old former Geelong player from back in the day. He's got a fan here, and it is the number one SuperCoach player in SuperCoach finals. And how did he do it? It was a total of 5,163 points, scored 1273 in the grand final week. And the big difference, your mate Dorco, Dane Zorko, was VC or C every single week. So it was the consistency that held him up, and also just nailing the captains. We had those triple captains and double vice captains throughout finals, and every single week nailed them. Dane Zorko and Dacos week 1, Laird and Dorco week 2, Dangerfield's 177 captain and Dorco week 3, and then Maxi Holmes, even though went down, had the top scorer in the grand final week with Dane Zorko as well. So huge score there, and congratulations, wins the 2.5K in SuperCoach finals. Was a fun little format, Fan.
It was.
Enjoy 3 finals.
Beat the Phantom League as well. Only 166 players beat the Phantom. So I came back a little in that last week. Zach Bailey VC.
Yes.
Could have been 300.
It's funny, I remember last week as we were creating our teams, I vetoed Fletcher as well, who had an unreal game. So maybe one to watch in 2026.
I know my stuff, Chief.
Oh, maybe.
Yep,
Plenty to talk about, though. So the winner of the Lair League, Oscar, coach of Howes for Brownlow, also finished 14th overall. House. So we did say to the winner of the Lair League that we'd send over a merch pack. So hit us up on socials. We will get that out to you, Oscar. Nice little merch pack for finishing number 1 in the Lair League. Vance, I think it's time. We need to get Al Paton on, and we need to talk 2026.
So I'm here for. And with that, Chief, new year, new me. I'm going back on what we said halfway through the year, that we would never have this bloke back on the show after what he's done to our man, Jason the Horny One, Horne-Francis. Our Paton, our _ SuperCoach, the king of SuperCoach, is back on the Phantoms Lair to look through everything that is 2026. We're done with 2025 hour. We're friends again. Welcome.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. I was very happy to see an invite in my email that said Lair 2026, which is all the focus now. Finals was fun, but as you say, 2025, we can put all that behind us and start thinking about who we want to pick for next year. And plenty of interesting names being thrown around already. Trades obviously starting to really heat up. That's going to be very relevant. Then we have the draft, but plenty starting to pencil together what a team might look like. But this is almost the most fun time of the year when the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, we're recording a little bit later in the day. It's been down in the West Lakes. Got the number 5 on my back, my Crows jumper, because big things happening down at West Lakes. Big things in SuperCoach as well. You've been spending
getting number 5.
You've spent all morning, Chief, on a Dev Robertson artwork. I don't know what it's for. I don't want to know what it's for, but there are plenty of names. We're going to look at our breakout picks for 2026, our first picked in SuperCoach, and of course our never again list. Who's gone on there? Who sits atop that? after 2025. But first, forget the names. There's some new rules. The game of footy is going to look different in 2026, It's going to change SuperCoach in some form. What's happening?
Well, I mean, the biggest news is we've obviously been campaigning for this for many years, and it finally got through to AFL headquarters that the sub rule is gone, dead and buried, and won't be missed. So just 5 on the bench for every team next year. So we don't have to be, the king of socials here, but we won't have to be refreshing the socials before every game to see who the sub is, although we, of course, need to know if there's any late changes. So that's still relevant. But, the sub was a killer for us, as we know, especially for some of those rookies in SuperCoach. So that's great news that is gone. Some other interesting moves. Well, the one that we know about so far is the centre bounce is also in the bin. So not sure if that's going to change things too much. Maybe a few more hit-outs to advantage for your Max Gawn types potentially if the ball's going up a bit straighter. And the one I think they've still left open as a possibility, but no decision yet, is whether there's some kind of last touch rule between the 50-metre arcs, which would sort of cut the number of, or throw-ins anyway, number of ruck contests around the ground potentially. So that's one we can still watch. But, yeah, some interesting moves there. I don't know if it sort of changes the players we talk about now in terms of the sub, but very happy to see that one in the bin.
What the last touch rule would do, as we've seen over here in the sandful, a few more easy kicks.
All right.
Potentially, because obviously the ball goes out if it's not a deflection or off hands or anything. It's not a throw-in. It's a kick to the opposition. Someone's got to kick it back into play.
We do love that. What are you guys' initial thoughts? I'll get your thoughts first, fans. But like with the no sub, how do we think coaches will attack this? Because we still have the 23 players. So we're just going to see some players with super low time on ground. But again, unbelievable, amazing news for super coaches because we now just don't have to worry, as Al said, about looking out for those guys. And hopefully we can get some more cash gen on the bench because you're not going to just go leave a player on the bench unused unless could Bevo have something up his sleeve for us.
I'm sure he does. But how about that, the last sub in history maybe of the AFL is the game that AFL coaches worked how to best use it. Lachie Neale comes on, wins the Brisbane Lions, the grand final, and the sub's gone. I don't really know. I don't want to think about what Bevo's going to do with an extra player on his bench. We have to wait and see. I wouldn't think they would use it like that. I would think we get 23 blokes who have a genuine look every week.
One possibility that's been floated by a few coaches is now it's easy to pick 2 rucks. So I wonder if that would affect SuperCoach potentially. If, a Bevo wants to throw I'm not sure who the VFL ruckman is down there on the bench just to give Tim English a chop out or something like that. So that might be something we do have to watch. And some of those cheap rucks could potentially be a little bit more relevant.
It's true. That could work out. But then it's like if then the other opposition team's playing an extra runner, then you're going to get a caught out when you've still got 2 big blokes going
So
around.
more late changes is what you're saying from coaches trying to swing the magnets around. Bit of Chris Scott action there.
Maybe.
All right. Well, we do have to talk about what positions players are going to be in next season. And we don't have the full detail, but we believe that's why we got Al on as well. He's always got the inside scoops. And you've got a little bit of details for us for 2026.
He's been down there. He's accessed the computers by hand. I saw him on video.
That was fun exercise going down and check out how Champion works. But yeah, we did get a little bit of some clues from SuperCoach finals with that position data that was based on where players played this year. So we saw already someone like a Bailey Smith was mid-only in SuperCoach finals, Max Holmes mid-only. So that will, I assume, carry on into 2026. Luke Jackson was a ruck only, was a pretty big one. Sam Flanders, someone we might be talking about more on this show a little bit later on. Forward only will be good for us. And Adam Treloar never played, obviously, in the finals, but he was listed as a forward mid. So if he gets in, if he's fit to go in round 1 with a pretty sizable discount after barely playing it all this year as a forward mid would make him an interesting proposition. But I can give you a few other little nuggets from our friends down at Champion Data. Can tell you that Harry Sheezer will be a mid forward next year. So he played all over the ground, as we know, across the year. Was mainly most of his time in the midfield, but then the second sort of most common position for him was as a forward, which we saw was sort of a bit frustrating at times in SuperCoach. But yeah, so that makes him an interesting pick. We potentially get our forward lines next year. And Christian Petrarca, we will be able to pick as a forward again. He just qualified for the DPP spending enough time forward. So if that's in Adelaide, playing straight out of the guts there, but potentially in our forward lines in Supercoach will be pretty huge. And probably, unfortunately for you, Jossie Harley-Reid didn't spend enough time in defence. He will be mid only. So he will be a pod for you there next year.
Yes, I like that. Stay tuned for perhaps my first pick of the season. Unbelievable. Some breaking news. From Al comes on, delivers some breaking news. Harry Sheezel mid-forward. That's huge. I mean, fans, how excited are we about that? That's a we're talking locks on this show. That has to be up there now.
Yep. Lock him in.
And
good news, because we're going to lose a few, as Al mentioned.
And your man,
take what we can get.
New Crom,
yep.
Christian Petrarca, apparently.
Lock him in. Number 5. It's free.
Unreal. That's some juicy info for Supercoaches very early in the preseason research, so you can pencil in those players. But Vance, what are we talking about this show? What's the main part?
The players. We know the players. The names we're looking at for 2026. Our preseason, our very early preseason watch list. But as Al knows, never too early to get your watch list in order. We're going to look at our first pick.
Yep.
You're going to reveal your first pick. I think I know who yours is. Real vanilla Dossie, as we've come to expect here on the Lair. I'm sure Al have something juicy for us. Maybe some red and black as well. Breakout picks as well. We do like to nail those on the Lair over the years. So that'll be interesting. And never again list. But I think we'll start with your vanilla flavour off the top. First picked in 2026. Hayden Chief Dos Kenny. Who is it?
Sam Flanders. You all knew it was going to be Sam Flanders. My goodness, amazing news that he is coming up in trade news, because all we need is Sam Flanders to find a greener pasture to deliver Supercoach greatness. We've already seen it. 2024 averaged 119 Supercoach points.
I just want to ask you quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Going to be playing down in Victoria is the word. But where is he going to be playing?
Well,
is the club going to play him in defence when he put up those numbers?
Well, the latest we've heard is St Kilda is where he's looking likely to go, and it is because he likes the role there, and that says to me more midfield time, and that's the first of the preseason. I'm dropping it here. More midfield time for Sam Flanders. We saw a little bit at the tail end of 2024. He played a bit of a defender role, then he got the DPP, was a defender mid by the end of it. And he was just Supercoach gold. Loved his kicking was used fantastically this year, still up forward. But whether he was hampered by the preseason back injury or not, I think he was to start with. Gradually worked into it. Just didn't get a look in at midfield. Didn't get a look in defence because Gold Coast stacked up on their defenders. Sam Flanders is primed for a bounce back season in a huge way. And as Al mentioned in the positional segment, he's going to be available as a forward. So it's almost like your Caleb Daniel pick this year for me. He's a lock. My first picked.
Ross Lyons never lied to anyone's face, though. Just keep that in mind.
Jack McRae the sub, was he? Well, we don't have the sub anymore, so you say.
I'm huge. Sammy Flanders, my first pick.
Okay, no, fair enough. As you mentioned, as a forward, it will become appealing.
Yep. Probably
hard to ignore, but I just want to wait and see that role. A lot of good users behind the ball there, the Saints are. Go to you. You like Sam Flanders quickly in a couple of words, and then who are you picking first?
Well, yes, I do like Sam Flanders. I think I probably will pick him as well. Talking about the Saints, I did consider Naz for this position because he was just by the length of the straight my best pick, starting pick this year, and we saw what he's capable of. Only just maybe a tiny bit nervous. He's not going to be cheap. And does he play midfield or does he play in defence? He'll be a defender in Supercoach, but he's probably one of those guys that we want him to stay in defence. We don't want him to move into the midfield, really. So maybe just waiting. Bit of a preseason watch on him, but I think I'll be keen to pick him again. But the guy that I've got locked in at the moment is actually Finn Callahan at GWS, who was someone who I had briefly in 2025, really didn't want to have to trade him, and I did because at that stage I thought it was my only way to get Nick Dacos, and it didn't really work out, although in the end Callahan missed a few games with injury, so I probably would have had to trade him anyway. But then really post-buy, when he came back into the team, and really nobody had him in Supercoach. So he averaged 112 for the year. So that's where he'll be priced at next year. So he won't be cheap. He'll probably be over 600K. But in those games post-buy, he averaged 120 SuperCoach points, just absolutely flew home. And he just had an absolute monopoly in the centre bands with Tom Green, I guess, at the Giants. 91% CBAs in the elimination final against Hawthorn. He was up, well into the 80s in most of those games. So we saw he was tagged out once or twice. So that's something that he'll probably learn to deal with over his career. But, yeah, just love him as a player. And, he's someone that I think I've picked Andy Brayshaw this year. Was another good starting pick, to someone who's a primo at the slightly not quite at the top end in terms of the price. But then he was an absolute lock, one of the top scorers for the whole year. And I think Finn can do that for me next year.
I like it, Chief. Yeah. I've got a few names in my head, but I wrote 2 down and he was one of them. Wow. I think I'm without. I think he becomes, we talk about breakout players who go from the lower tier to the mid or straight to the height. This is, I think, with Finn Callaghan is you go good to elite. He goes to the top bracket, the 120 plus potentially in 2026.
Yeah, you are paying premium price, but I'm on board too, Al. I mean, I was an owner for a little bit of this year and it was devastated when I had to trade him out as well. So, came home like a steam train as well. Really didn't slow down across the season. So, I like it. But, going to that 120, it's gonna be a task, but I'll back you in, Al. I'll back you in on that one.
Speaking of 120, could be this bloke's price in 2026, and it will be the bargain of the century. The 21st century in SuperCoach, Will Brodie.
Will
Brodie coming to the power. You've said it.
You gave it to Dossie for talking about Sam Flanders.
Dossie was in my ear about Justin Longmuir all year. Can't coach is what Dossie said. What's happened to Will Brodie? Oh, I talked him up last time, 102, I think, back in 2022. He's a bit slow and the game has changed a bit, so I don't think he's going to average 100, but he was priced at 191 at the start of last year. Didn't play. Coming to the power for a reason. Going to be close to, he's going to be cheaper than a lot of the draftees.
Yeah, rookie price.
So Will Brodie, if he gets game, which you think he would be, they're coming in and bringing him over for a reason.
Yeah, I was wondering
where do you think he fits in that midfield when you've got the sort of Ollie Wines types? Connor Rosie maybe down back now maybe helps him, but you've got Butters, Willem Drew obviously. Can Brodie force his way in there? Because I'm not sure he plays too many other positions besides.
Well, that's the thing with him. He can't play. He can't play anywhere else. And that's what happened at Freo. But then if Porter bringing him over, is he better than Ollie Wines now? In Ollie Wines' current form or current state of his career? Maybe. It'll be a watch over the preseason. He only averaged 102 SuperCoach points in the waffle last year, Will Brodie. So it will be all about opportunity. But I think he will get it. I think Connor Rosie, like Al said, did look better across half-back. Port looked better with Connor Rosie across half-back. They need that extra sort of body in there. Ball winner. Protect Horne-Francis a little bit more maybe as well. Well, we assume Zach Butters are going to be there at this point.
I'd love to see it. I'm a bit of a Will Brodie truther myself, and I was wondering why we did have the Port and Fremantle Guernseys up here for the last 8 podcasts or something. It was all because of this. It was all waiting for the Will Brodie reveal as the bargain lock, the pick of the century that Phantom has outlined there. I'm on board, Fance. He'll be straight in my team as well.
Just the concern, I'm sure Kane Corns will pick this up as well. Against West Coast late in the season in the waffle, we had 41 disposals, 21 contested possessions, 12 clearances, 13 ground ball gets, 4 score involvements.
Yeah,
didn't do a lot with it. Still scored 173 SuperCoach points, but we know he can score well in all fantasy formats. It's just what happens. Can he help the team?
Yeah. I'm with you though, Fans. Should I get to my second pick here?
Yeah. Let's talk now a few more names that we are excited about it.
Yeah.
Or need to be on the watch list. 3 more names that are at the top of your summer SuperCoach watch list.
Yeah, I'm going to kick it off with a player that, borderline could have been my first pick if it wasn't for he's a bit more hefty in the price tag, but still well unders what I think he can go for. And Errol Goulden is one of my favourite picks for 2026, and I don't see him moving out unless he gets injured in the preseason. So his lowest average since 2023, Phantom, and this is a guy that's only, 22 years old or something insane like that. So Errol Goulden is a proven Supercoach stud. He only averaged in the low hundreds. I think it was 103 last year. And at a price tag of 103, this is a guy that can go 110 plus, push 115, even better than that if he gets going and maybe get some more inside midfield time for a Swans team that really would hopefully bounce back next year after a little bit of a disappointing season under Dean Cox in his first year. We also saw some more centre bounce exposure for Errol Goulden as the season went on. So Errol Goulden, for me, I'm a huge fan of him, and he'll be in my team unless I don't see a way he's not in my team in the start of 2026.
Yep, no, I don't mind it. And now there are a few names who we have talked about and are probably going to be locks in everyone's team. I think our Jagger Smith from the Blues was almost going to be the first pick rookie in 2025 before that preseason injury. If he's back and raring to go for the start of the 2026 season, almost lock him in, and probably would become the most picked player in Supercoach potentially.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're not including those.
Yeah, we should have
types.
mentioned that right off the top. Yeah, we're sort of excluding a lot of the locked rookie players. I know we won't let Al speak about Josh Smiley because he's a bit of a. We need to get the nuff alarm out for the first time. Need to get the nuff alarm out for the first time this preseason. There it is. So we can't let Al talk about any Tigers. But yeah, I think those sort of players that are basement price, we can just sort of lock away. And these are guys that we know the Supercoach hardcores are listening in October. We want to give you guys the nuggets that we're looking for in 2026.
And the bonus, obviously, with those guys is that they were elevated price last year because they were high, top 5, top 10 draft picks. But they'll get a discount next year after not playing at all. So, assuming they're fit and ready to go, I think they'll be some of the easiest picks next year.
Jagger's going to be like 80% owned or something, surely, if he's right to go. All right, Al, do you want to take away a pick that you're super keen on for 2026 now?
Yeah, well, super keen might be slightly overstated, but I'm very interested in what happens over the trade period in relation to, we talked about St Kilda already, but maybe in their ruck division, because Tom de Koning is coming in to Moorabbin on very, very healthy coin. And it's just a question of, will Rowan Marshall be there? So if Marshall's there, they're sharing the ruck. I think we just move on. Nothing to see here. But if Marshall decides to leave and TDK is the number one solo ruck on his own, then we're sort of back in the same position we were at the start of last year. In fact, he's going to be even cheaper than he was when a lot of us picked him at the start of 2025. He ended the year with an average of 96.9, but in the first 14 rounds, he averaged 114. So we could just be back in the same spot debating, do we put him in flex or is he R2 or how do we handle this situation? But we know what his scoring capability is. I mean, who knows what was going on in the second half of the year. Obviously, having Mark Pitney in the team makes it a lot harder for him. He was playing a bit forward, but then was he already thinking about where he's going to do down by the seaside down with the Saints? So his mind might not be totally on the job. So, yeah, I think he's definitely going to be a player of interest, depending what happens in the next couple of weeks.
Like it. Yeah, just sit down there, Chief. Just make sure you're bracing there, ready. Harley Reid is high on my watch list. Now, won't be a defender as he finished the season in, we saw, but will be awkwardly priced. That might be the issue. 122 in round 23 against the Tigers. The week before, scored in the 80s over here in Adelaide against the Power. Had 27 touches again. Gave away, I think he had 12 clangers that day. Passed the eye test very much so on that day. If they, obviously you didn't finish off through injury, but if they unleash him through the middle, third year, we know what his scoring power is like. He'll be cheap enough to start him as a sort of a stepping stone selection potentially. That has the potential to then maybe be a keeper himself. What do you think?
Of course I'm high on Harley Reid. I mean, enough alarm would break if I played it right now. Of course I'm massive on him. And, you've robbed one of my picks there for sure. But I'm glad to hear that you are behind him. Do you see yourself? Now, these are probably the hardest picks. Where you sit, Al? Do you, and Fance as well, but do you guys see yourself starting with one of these players? Because it is always, they are the hardest players to pick in that awkward price range. Would you genuinely think that he could be a starting pick?
Well, priced at 70. He's going to be priced at 70 next.
Oh, I thought it was high.
That's what is he? If he plays in the midfield, doesn't get injured, stops giving away so many free kicks, which that could be an issue as well. Is he a 90 minimum guy?
Oh, he has to be. What do you think, Al? I'll
That's
pass it to someone
points.
not biased. I actually thought he'd got his average up to in the 80s. 70 seems. You can't miss that, can you, Al?
Dev Robinson's not going to take too many of his points.
In the waffle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's tempting. It's just, you usually sort of find a way to pick maybe one of those guys in that price bracket. It was like a sort of a Clayton Oliver at the start of this year. That didn't really work out. I mean, I picked Adam Chera at the similar price, and he was a good pick for most of the year, sort of fell off right at the end, which didn't help. But, you can't have too many of them, but he'll be right up there.
Got to be in there. Gee, I love to hear that, Vance. Now, I've sort of had to shuffle mine around, but I think because you took my boy, I might have to take your boy, Vance.
The horny one.
Jason Horne-Francis. We got to, he's,
look at the smug owl. Yeah. Look on our face here. He was right. Look at me.
He was right this year in 2025. We're talking 2026 now, Phantom. And could we see Jason Horne-Francis take the bigger leap into uber premium territory that we thought he may hit this season? Priced at 94.5. Now, we speak about awkward price tags. That is probably certainly in the mix to be an awkward price tag. New coach at the Power, new game plan, one that I'll be watching very closely in preseason to see if Horne-Francis can take a new leap into uber premium territory. And I think I don't know if we mentioned it in the positional segment, but might be a guy that we are looking at not in our forward line this year. So he would have to be a midfield selection.
And a nice pod. But what do you think? The master of the horny one.
I'm going to ruin the run sheet because we've got a section for blokes we aren't going to pick, don't we?
No.
Yeah, he was going to go in there because when I saw that mid-only, I thought, well, that makes it easy for me. I don't have to agonise about him for months again like I did last year and then get it wrong every step of the way. Caved at the last second and started him when I didn't want to, then traded him when I shouldn't have, and then traded him back in when I shouldn't have. But, I mean, I think the same issue, we just talked about it with, Will Brodie's going to come across. They do have a lot of midfielders. Where does he fit in there? He is a mid only in Supercoach, so he obviously gets a decent amount of time in the midfield, but just are there enough centre bounces to really, we know his scoring can go through the roof as it did that week that I traded him out, but just consistently, I think he'll be a good player, but yeah, you say price at 95, maybe he goes to say 105, I reckon is probably about what we might get. So, that'll probably be fine, but maybe not massive value, and just think, especially at that price in the midfield, it's going to be hard.
We knew Al would be against the horny one. He's never been a big fan. We knew. That might be a preview of our never again list there. But for me, Horne-Francis is still one that's on my radar. I'll need to see the new game plan and how he fits in there. And again, lots of preseason watch. Might head out to Alberton a few times just to make sure, just to make sure the role is right. Al, who have you got for us?
Another player looking at some, I mentioned it earlier with Finn Callahan in terms of sort of looking for guys, and maybe we get to breakouts. I know Fant is big on this kind of research, sort of post-buy numbers, who might be able to carry that into next year. And a really obvious one, I guess, for me is Colby McKercher. Again, a preseason watch. Does he keep that role in the back line at North? Because in the first half of the year, they tried to play him a bit more in the midfield, more as a forward. He averaged 63.5 to round 11. Then switches to halfback and averaged 104.6 for the rest of the year, and he's going to be priced at 83. So I think that's a bit of a no-brainer in the back line. I think probably around the 450K mark. If we know he's going to be playing there, I think he'll definitely be in my team. It's just always that question mark. We saw with Sheasel got thrown all over the ground. Colby a bit as well. So, what's Caleb Daniel doing next year? How, we know Clarko and the Kangas love to have those ball users off halfback. But if he keeps that role, he's a player I like a lot.
You know, the comparison I'd almost provide, and it's probably a bad comparison, but just for the role at the end of the year, our man Matty Roberts had a similar situation where towards the tail end of the season, the year prior, he had that prime role, and then come into this year, things changed too much. I don't think it's going to be the same for Colby. I think you're 100% spot on, Al. I think it's just going to stay there. But what do you think, Vance? Is that going to hold, and are we safe to? I mean, obviously we've got so many months to go in preseason, but Colby, surely that role stays.
I think so.
Yeah,
just given what they've got already, I think it suits the team. It suits him there at the moment, so I like it too. From now, a few others at a similar price in defence.
Do we need to hold on to our hats again
for me
to answer this one?
A few guys who finished the year. Now, I'm not vanilla like you, Chief, so I'm just looking a little bit deeper. Couple of key, just not on top of the watch list, but Archie Roberts from the Bombers. One to watch. Passes the eye test, definitely.
I was doing some age bracket stuff the other day, and he was the highest SuperCoach averaging 20-year-old, I think, available in SuperCoach. So certainly leading the way in his age bracket at the moment.
Finished with a SuperCoach ton and finished with an average of 83, so it won't be priced overly cheap. Jasper Fletcher, bit similar, 448k, 117 SuperCoach points in the grand final win over the Cats. A 90 and an 80, 90s and the 80s in the final series at 2, but then to finish off the minor round as well, 129 and 91 in Brisbane's final 2 minor round games. So he's priced at 88, so his price for 2026 will be a little bit off-putting. But again, we look at what he did in the grand final, how much ball he's winning back there. There's a lot of them. You probably put Darcy Wilmot in the category.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Brisbane
he finished
Lions,
really strong as well.
So can they all win the ball? Not sure. If you got Kitty Coleman coming back in, does that change things as well? But in terms of players who can take another step in their development and then in turn in SuperCoach, probably got Jasper Fletcher. So Jasper Fletcher, Archie Roberts for that. You're looking for something a little bit different following on from what Al said about Colby.
So that was you had 2 picks in one.
2 slash. What, combined.
Don't know about that, Vance, but maybe you can call me vanilla for my next pick because
here we go.
This guy was unlucky not to be my first pick lock, and it's a I think this pick is going to be very popular, especially for a starting mid-price pick. Hayden Young at Fremantle, I believe, will just be taking huge steps forward next year. Obviously, a injury-riddled season. I think what his average in the end was only in the 70s, I think. So another guy that next season, with a full preseason under his belt, again, maybe a vanilla pick, but Hayden Young is going to take his game to the next level next season. Came up big in their final game of the year. In the final against Gold Coast, was used over 70% of centre bounces. Now, I don't know what we're going to be calling that, centre throw-ups for next year, whatever we want to call it. But Hayden Young, for me, he's in a midfield that works. Like Fremantle midfield is a dominant gun midfield, and all they needed this year a bit more of was a bit more Hayden Young to distribute the ball out of there. So I think for me, he's a roll gold SuperCoach pick, and he's in the mould of an Ed Richards who had a breakout year this year. I think we can see similar stuff from Hayden Young if he just stays on the park.
I like it. As you know, our knows I like Hayden Young. Let me throw another name in that same bracket just before we get to our price. So
stealing all the names here.
73, this guy's priced at. So Hayden Young will be 71. You've got Harley Reid at 72 as well. So there's going to be some mid-price options that will tempt us. Another one to throw in here. Finished the year with scores 90, 114, 195. George Wardlaw.
Yeah.
If
he's always here.
He can stay on the park and play in the midfield, great buying.
It's got to be, the year has to come
surely.
Eventually. The George Wardlaw breakout's coming, but it's just a matter of time. Yeah, good call. Good call. You've taken all the names, but Al, have you got anyone else for us?
Well, another one I could quickly throw into that same sort of bracket that, like at the moment, I must admit, someone like, I think Hayden Young might have done his hamstring 4 times this year. He was subbed out, with shockingly low scores in a couple of games, which does help with his price, but it just makes it very hard to trust him going into next year. And Will Day's another one he could put in a similar bracket. Missed most of the year through injury, and then I think he got injured again, didn't he, and missed the finals. He'll be probably averaged 99 in the end, but only played 6 games, so he'll get a bit of a discount. So, he'll be, definitely underpriced for what he can do, but, can you trust his body is another big question. And I've got a couple of other Hawks that I'm watching as well, probably if they're not at Hawthorn next year. One, of course, favourite of yours from earlier in the year is the pencil Henry Huswaite. Can he get a move to another club where he gets some regular midfield time? And Cam McKenzie's another one who I've picked a couple of times in SuperCoach over the journey.
Like
and I might be tempted again if he goes. There's been talk that St Kilda's interested in him as well amongst the long list of players they're going to go out and get if he can get a regular game in the midfield. Because both these guys spent a lot of the year in the VFL, both averaged, really big numbers there, well over 100 at VFL level, and have shown glimpses at AFL level that they can score. It's just, getting a regular game is the question mark. So, they're not going to be rookie price, but they'll be pretty cheap. I'd be tempted by probably Mackenzie's the one I really like. I think he played a preseason game in his rookie year and scored over 100 in whatever the community series was called back then. And everyone picked him, and it didn't quite work out. But he has the talent definitely to be a good SuperCoach scorer if he gets regular opportunities.
It's going to be a good debate, this price bracket. Just quickly on George Wardlaw, if you could guarantee he played 85% of every game, he could average 120. I'll say it down the camera. 85% full season, 120 George Wardlaw, because we've seen it. Richmond round 23 last year, 65% game time, 25 touches, 13 contested possessions, 100 SuperCoach points. Round 2 against Port, 120 SuperCoach points in 63% game time, 20 touches, 10 contested possessions, 7 inside 50s. Just needs to stay out there because the bloke is a SuperCoach scoring powerhouse.
Wow. I didn't know we were going for quote card king this early.
Clip it up. Get him on the wall.
Are we moving on from? Do we have any more names? Any final shout outs that we want to mention?
I think it's a good group there. Do you have anyone else?
We're doing breakouts. Is that where this comes in?
Breakouts.
I have one.
This is general watch list. Last one.
Yeah, just to combat that quote card, I've got another guy that is also locked into my team early, and it does. Look, I'll put a caveat on this. It does depend on if his ruck tandem ends up at another club in this trade period. Luke Jackson could be the number 1 scorer in SuperCoach in 2026. He averaged 113 this season. He could go 130 plus next season, take on the Bont, give him all the accolades. Might be our first ruck Brownlow medalist we've seen in many years. I think Luke Jackson is going to go and be the number 1 SuperCoach scorer in 2026.
If Sean Darcy moves.
If he moves. It is the caveat. But Jackson without Darcy is a beast to be reckoned with.
Mm-hmm.
Ruck only, won't be available as a forward. I think it could present a unique opportunity to go as a pod. If Sean Darcy moves, though, lots of people will jump on. But I think for me, I will be, if he's solo rucking next season, there is no way I won't start with Luke Jackson. Pencil in a 120 plus average at a minimum.
Liam Reedy moving. He's going to Carlton apparently. So no chance of him coming in to steal any points. But the ruck's going to be, it is every year when you've got limited slots. We do have the flex there to potentially sneak another one in. But Gawn and Cherry both averaged over 127 this year. So it's going to be hard to leave any of those guys out. And obviously Brody Grundy finished, his second half of the year was insane. And then you want to try and squeeze Jacko in there as well.
I think, like I said, 113 could be underpriced. His ceiling is matches the best in SuperCoach in just
big if still. Our one breakout pick for 2026. Always a big highlight of the preseason, as you know. Codesports.com do the Phantoms breakout contenders. Who have you got?
This guy's 27, so does that still count? I'm just counting how many seasons has he played. Oh, he's played a few, but he's never been a primo in SuperCoach, even though he was a number 1 draft pick. But potentially, I reckon we could see a breakout next year from Andy McGrath at the Bombers. Who knows what's happening at Essendon at the moment, but the thing that really caught my eye was that he averaged 83 for the year, so he's not going to be super expensive. But in the last 4 games of the year, he moved from defence into the midfield, and his scores were 131, 92, 159 and 93. And in those games, his CBAs were well up in the sort of 80s and 90s. So if he keeps that role into next year, I think he's someone who can really take that jump to become more of a top-line SuperCoach scorer. I mean, I think that 159 game was against the Saints, and it was sort of in some knockout SuperCoach finals, and I was loading up on, I think I had Naz and Sinclair and Marshall waiting for them to all go to town, and the game definitely did not go as I was expecting, and McGrath just absolutely dominated. So, he was number 1 pick, and, the Bombers need midfielders. If Zach Merritt leaves, there's just some wide open midfield time there ready for Andy McGrath to grab it.
The old 27-year-old breakout. Big
I love that. It's so unique. I would not have thought Andy McGrath would have popped up on this podcast. I'm impressed, Al. That is serious deep cut.
Who have you got? You're scrolling through rapidly there. Do you want me to go?
You go.
Now, I know Al likes this guy too. I thought he was going to take him from me, so I'm glad he didn't. But even without the news of Christian Petrarca's likely exit, now the Demons also telling Clayton Oliver to look for a new home. Even without that, the natural development in Harvey Langford, I think, in year 2,
good pick,
was going to be something. Was going to be something anyway. Now with those 2 guys out of the centre bounce mix, centre throw up mix, which we saw. So Harvey Langford got basically no CBAs in his debut season.
Yeah.
He was centre bounce midfielder in his draft year, averaged 152 SuperCoach points in 15 Coach League games. Massive numbers. Scored 3 SuperCoach tons in his debut season. The most impressive was the final round, 124 SuperCoach points against the Magpies. If he gets that slight uptick of CBAs from those big 2 coming out, the natural development year 2 after an impressive debut season, and he's a numbers guy, a big numbers guy anyway when he came through the junior system. So passed the eye test as well. So ticks a lot of boxes, Harvey Langford, for a big second-year breakout. It's going to be priced, again, at the magical 71-point mark, which is a lot of guys we've spoken about. So it's going to take a big selection, a big call to pick him ahead of the other types. But I think the growth in him, the potential to outscore his price tag is just as high as some of them.
Yeah, I love the pick, especially, the trade news just paves the way for him to be their midfield bull. And we haven't seen, in the last couple of years, we haven't seen a huge second-year breakout. We've kind of been hoping that we would. We haven't seen a massive second-year breakout, but I think this could be the first one since what was the last? It was like your Chad Wingard and then Jack McRae both went just absolutely ballistic in their second year. This is paving the way for that potential huge leap, 30-plus point leap that we could see if he does get that role. I love it, fans. I'm really annoyed that I love it, but I do. And my breakout pick, is actually another vanilla one, I'm afraid. But it's a guy entering his 4th year that's never averaged over 60, despite being a guy that we talk about a lot in SuperCoach circles. Now, a lot of players are coming to his club this off-season, so the pathway to midfield time becomes even tougher this year. But I've still got a breakout coming for Matthias Filippo. Injury-free preseason is all this guy needs. We need to see him on the park. I feel like he's going to unfortunately be more of a forward than a mid for another year, depending on who comes in and where Ross sits with their midfield mix.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see him entering his 4th season in 2026 not having at least an improvement that we can mark as a breakout, because the highest average he's ever had is 58. He averaged 35 last year. So anything going from 58, if he averages 75, that's still a breakout. I'm hoping for more than that. But I think given he'll be a forward, he'll be cheap, we can call it a breakout for year 4, Matthias Filippo.
Like another one with big scoring power. I like it too, in the right role. Just quickly, a very side note, you mentioned about the second year breakout. We just forget how good Harry Sheasel and Nick Dacos, because they're already superstars. Harry Sheasel averaged 118 his second year, Nick Dacos 116, but they're just instant superstars. So we don't think of them.
They were already.
Yeah, they were sort of 90s in their first year, I think, both of them. Yeah.
Not that massive climb.
Incredible.
Clary was at the Melbourne was, another one that I didn't mention before that was just unreal. So
I'm excited. When's Supercoach? When's it open? Yeah, when can I pick my team for 2026? Anytime soon? It's almost Christmas.
Soon. Just keep refreshing.
I will. My NFL team's fallen down, and well, I was looking to win. I was looking to win the overall prize. I just fallen down a little bit. So keen for 2026 Supercoach. The trade period as well. Obviously, time of recording is about to heat up, and that'll dictate a lot. Hopefully, a few things we've spoken about here do eventuate in a good way for Supercoach, but a few different things will pop up too, and we're planning to talk about after that as well.
We do.
In the draft, but you probably watch that closer than me. But any names there that you're penciling in already?
Well, we might have to call him our boy, our man over here from the Sandford, Dyson Sharp. Been playing league footy over here for a couple of years. Absolute ready-made bull. If he goes to the Eagles, which he could, because he had a game straight away, I reckon so. So in terms of ready-made juniors to go straight into the big time, win the footy, tackle, have an impact, I think he's one to watch.
Yeah, he was actually drafted by the Eagles in Dossie's AFL 25 management mode on the PlayStation. So he goes all right in the midfield over there. So yeah, the Nuff alarms.
Yeah, Dyson Sharp. One to watch out.
Yeah.
Let's hope he goes to a club that has a role for him straight away.
Yeah, he's been talked about in, Richmond's got a couple of those early picks right behind the Eagles. So depending what they do, if he's still there, he's certainly someone that I think the Tigers would be interested in. And I think they need some fresh blood in the midfield. So yeah, I'll be pretty happy with that, I think. And be nice to be able to pick him in Supercoach as well.
Yep. Big few months coming up, and then a big pre-season, Chief.
Huge pre-season coming. Again, thanks to anyone that's sticking around, listening to pods early, obviously for season 2026, or that's stuck around all season. Really appreciate it. We are going to have a little bit of a break. We'll be back hopefully for some, as we said, some trade period or some draft content, but definitely a little bit of a break before we get back into our preseason content. So we thought we'd leave a little episode to keep you satiated in the off season. A few names to think about. Obviously, we'd love to talk about 1,000 more names, but we tried to cut it down as much as we could on this episode. But we really do appreciate everyone sticking around, and ratings, reviews, comments to let us know what you'd like to see more of next preseason. Much appreciated while we reset for another massive year of Supercoach.
And let us know over the summer and over the next few months who your first pick is.
Yeah.
In Supercoach for 2026. We'll take all that in and we'll talk about those names more in depth when we return.
Final message, Al?
Yeah, if you want more crossover episodes, let us know.
Oh, Al was back on the Lair. Well, no, it's been good to have Al back, but he did badmouth Horny one again, so we have to just talk about him off air.
Yep, you're dropping out there, Al.
See you, Al. We'll see you all on the other side.
See you in, 2025, but for 2026.